Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone should have their translation equipment that looks like this. Before we get started, I'm going to pass it to my colleague Reina to ensure that everyone's device works perfectly.
Probando 1, 2, 3. Si se pueden poner su equipo de interpretación, vamos a hacer una prueba de sonido. If you can put on your interpretation devices, we're going to do an audio test. Probando 1, 2, 3. ¿Me escuchan los que hablan español? Muy bien, muy bien. Perfecto, 1, 2, 3. Y creo que también los que hablan inglés están escuchando a su intérprete, ¿correcto? ¿Sí escuchan a su intérprete? Perfecto. All right. So it doesn't matter what language I speak. So how about I speak Spanish for a little bit? A través de esta reunión van a ocupar el equipo. El equipo que se les asignó va a ir con ustedes a cada una de las estaciones cuando estemos haciendo las rotaciones. Así es que no se les olvide traerlo con ustedes. Lo más fácil es agarrar el cordón y ponérselo alrededor de la cabeza, como ven algunos de sus colegas. Así no lo tienen que estar cargando, evitan que se caiga el equipo porque se daña muy fácilmente y lo hace mucho más sencillo de utilizar. La razón por la cual todos tienen equipo, aún los que son bilingües, es porque cuando vayamos a las sesiones de escucha, es más fácil para su presentador hablar a un tono normal a que tener que elevar su voz solamente para ser escuchada a través de todas las demás voces que están alrededor. Y son 4 grupos que van a estar hablando a la misma vez, así es que esto lo va a hacer más fácil para poder escuchar y centrarse en la conversación justo alrededor de ustedes en vez de estar escuchando 2 o 3 conversaciones a la misma vez, lo cual hace un poco difícil. Si es que cuando nos vayamos a las sesiones de escucha, solo les pidemos, antes de que nos vayamos, vamos a regresar y dar un poquito de instrucción. Vamos a pedir que por favor todos, antes de irnos a la primera sesión, apaguen su aparato. Para apagarlo solamente es el botoncito redondo del centro. Van a oprimir el botón, ahorita no, pero cuando vayamos a las sesiones de escucha van a oprimir el botoncito redondo del centro y eso apaga el equipo. Y ya cuando lleguen allá va a ser más fácil para nosotros cambiarles de canal y prepararnos para ponerlos en el canal correcto para cada uno de los grupos, ya que van a haber 8 canales diferentes. Con eso les regreso a nuestra colega para que continuemos con la reunión, pero si en la reunión tienen problemas con su equipo, nomás levanten la mano y podemos pasar para asegurar que el equipo suena bien y con eso transicionamos para atrás.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being here at the 72nd Shafter meeting. Congratulations on making it to 5 years. This is a huge milestone for you all. I congratulate you on your commitment to clean air in the Shafter community. Before we get started, I just want to do some logistics for you. So everyone should have either a red or yellow folder. The only difference is that the yellow folders have only English documents. All the red ones are fully bilingual. So in your folder, you have today's agenda. As you can see here, and today we are going to start with the introductions that we're doing right now, and then we're going to have a community air walk, and we're going to rotate to 4 different stations where you're going to have all of your questions answered for the various things that we're going to talk about today. And then we'll come back as a group and have one large roundtable discussion. In addition to that, in your packet, you have a lot of handouts that we'll be using at each of the stations. So you might feel that this is heavy because you're going to take this packet with you as you migrate to each of the stations. And once you get to the station, your facilitator at that station will tell you which handout that you need to pull out so that you can follow the conversation. So again, congratulations for being here. I know it's very different from being on Zoom to being in person, so we look forward to having an engaging conversation. and hearing your feedback directly about all of the themes that will be discussed today. So before we get started, I want to pass it to Ryan to provide us with some welcoming remarks. Ryan?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. So nice to be here tonight and see all of you, and appreciate you making the time to make your way out here. Hope everybody enjoyed the food. I know we're going to have some great conversations. One of the big pieces of news that I wanted to share, and some of you may have already heard, but very with a lot of sadness, Jessica Olson left the district, and she's now she's going back to school to actually pursue her a master's degree at Stanford. And so one of the things that she was really sad was she wasn't able to come in person and tell all of you that she was going to be leaving. But at the same time, when one door closes, another door opens. And so we're just extremely thrilled that Stephanie Ng is stepped into that role, and she's now the director of the department. You've already become familiar with Stephanie, and you understand what great work she does and how much she cares about the program and working with all of you to make the improvements in the community. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Ryan, for that introduction. I just wanted to maybe echo Ryan's sentiment of, I know that Jess was just, sad to leave the community, but I think all of us at the district are still hugely committed to this work that we're doing together. So I'm really grateful that I get to continue working with you all on this. And with that, I'm really excited to introduce, now that I'm the director, we have a new program manager that I'm super happy to introduce, and I'm going to pass to her to introduce herself and just give a few words. But this is our new program manager, Sarah Hassan Lane.
Hello, everyone. Like Stephanie said, my name is Sarah. I am the new program manager. And I've been with the district for 9 years now, so I'm new to the team, but not new to the district. I recently was a supervisor in the incentives department, so I'm hoping that my experience in my other departments will help me in my new role, and I'm really excited to work with you all.
Thank you, Sarah, so much. And another round of applause to welcome this new leadership team that you all have. Okay, so we are ready to get started. So everyone should have a folder. If you could raise your hand if you don't have a folder, I can bring you one. Everyone has one. Wonderful. So you need one? Oh, I thought I saw red. Okay. Now everyone has a folder, yes? Thank you. No, thank you. Great. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to rotate into 4 separate groups. So I know this group over here is a mighty group and you all want to stay together, but I'm going to divide you so that we can ensure that we can each get to each station. Otherwise, you won't get all your questions answered. So I'm going to have everyone from your table here. You are going to start at the district air monitoring updates, and your facilitator at the air district's monitoring updates will give you instructions on what you need to do. But before you transition, you're going to go ahead and turn off just this group. You're going to turn off your equipment and walk over to that station so that you can get new instructions. And for you guys here, can I divide you in half? Is that okay? So I'm going to split you right. You can take your daughter with you. So my left-hand side here, including Mr. Lopez, you're going to start at the district enforcement updates here. So you guys can stand up and, well, first turn off your equipment, everyone, and then go to that table. And then you all here are going to turn off your equipment, and then you're going to go to the Department of Pesticide Regulation. And you're going to start there for instructions. And you're going to go with your people. You guys are all going to start at CARB. So if you can turn off your equipment and walk over to the California Air Resources Board. Aquí al DPR. ¿Le ayudo? Aquí el TPR. Sí, vaya para allá, está bien. If you could start to wrap up your questions, we're about to rotate to our next table. All right, thanks everyone. We're going to go ahead and rotate. If you didn't get your questions answered, make sure to make them an action item. We're going to rotate clockwise, so everyone is going to rotate to the table to the right. To the right, to the right. Everybody's shuffling to the right. Take your food with you. To the right. Right over here. Aquí. A la derecha. To the right. Right. Oh, it's because you were clockwise. Clockwise. Welcome this way. Clockwise. To the right over here. Okay, so now you will have 10 minutes at your new table. So if we can start with introductions. Thanks, everyone. We will now be rotating to the next station. So if you can wrap up your conversations, request some action items, and start making your way to the next table, you'll go clockwise. Thank you. think we have one more rotation.
Cuando hagamos la última rotación, that way we're not having to look for them at every table. We just take care of them, send them off, and they're bigger.
Okay. All right, if you could start to wrap up your questions, submit some action items for your team, get all your questions in there. We are going to go ahead and rotate to the next table. All right, we're going to go ahead and rotate to our next table. Please start to wrap up your conversations and go to the next table. And this will be your last table. Es tiempo de moverse a la siguiente mesa, por favor. Gracias. Thank you so much. If everyone can go to the last table, you're going clockwise. You all will go to Department of Pesticide Regulation. All right, time is up. If you could turn off your device and come back to the main tables. You guys can turn off your device by pressing the center button and come back to the table. Okay, yeah, yep. Turn off your device and come back to the table. She's gonna, the translation team will teach you how to turn it back on. You can turn it down. All right, if you can come back to the main tables, please. If you could turn off your device and come back to the table, your translation team will help you set it up. Thank you. Thank you for coming back to the main table. Can everybody hear me? All right, we're ready to get started. So to help us focus and pay attention, we have a little gift to give away. So when you checked in at registration, our colleagues took your name down and checked that you were here. And I just asked my colleague at the registration to draw a random name. And here we have the Air District is providing you with a shrub trimmer. Someone's going to get to work with this gift, an electric shrub trimmer. And the winner for today is Antonio Lopez. Where is Antonio Lopez? Antonio. Hey, Antonio. Antonio, you want to come over to my house after work? And we'll put you to work right away. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your questions. As you know, it is our commitment to implement a transparent, can we just test to make sure that everyone can hear? Are we all on the main channel? Yes, everyone can hear in Spanish, English. You can hear. You can hear me. You should be able to hear me. Unless you want to hear me in Spanish. All right. Thank you so much. As you know, we aim to implement a transparent and accountable process that allows community members to provide their input, increase their knowledge and awareness of all of the initiatives and the work that are happening within the Shafter community. Thank you for all of the great questions that were asked at each of the stations. As you saw, our team was taking notes, and if you had some action items, those get documented, and you see how those get brought to you at the meetings that we do on Zoom. We are still committed to having these annual meetings in person and then having the quarterly meetings via Zoom. So you will still see, just like you have in the past, see those action items be updated in the online portal that's available so that you can check at any time. So thank you all for your questions. So at this time, if you're following on today's agenda, we're about to transition to our next item, which is the review of vegetative barriers. We're right on time. Yes, thank you. You all did a great job transitioning with all of that information. So to get us started with this new item, I'm going to pass it to Stephanie, who's going to walk us through the vegetative barriers conversation.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you all for participating. Like Amy said, now that we've transitioned to quarterly meetings, I know it feels a little bit different. We see each other a lot less, but this exercise was really just part of our commitment to you all that we are still in the community, continuing to do this work with you. And so I appreciate you all going through the rotations, hearing updates. As you all heard, we're still doing monitoring in the community. We're still in the community doing enforcement actions. And then also our partners that we're working with very closely, like CARB and DPR, are kind of still here with us through this process. So these are the things that we want to make sure we're routinely checking in with you all on as we're continuing to do this work with you, even though we're seeing you all a little bit less. So like Amy said, I'm going to transition over to our vegetative barriers item, which I know this is a very exciting item to folks. I know that for this whole time since the committee has been doing this work, vegetative barriers have been a really high priority. And so I'm just going to take us back a little bit and just remind everyone of kind of where we are with this measure. As a reminder, we have $1 million allocated in the SERP to do this vegetative barriers work. We were able to successfully work with Wonderful to plant just under 200K, it was about 196K, towards 3 projects of oleanders throughout the community. And so with the remaining funding, it was about 800K. We did open another RFP, and we have a couple applications that we've received that we have a chance to review now. So I'm going to ask you all, if you open your folder, there is a presentation in here. It's called the Shafter Vegetative Barriers Proposal Review. Should be an English and a Spanish one in your red folder or yellow folder. Go ahead and pull it out, and we're going to walk through it together. Yes, yeah. Yeah. Michelle is reminding us that now is a perfect time to talk about this kind of thing as we have all this wind blowing and maybe some dust in the community. So as you all are pulling it out, I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to review the process and kind of where we stand with one of our proposals. I also wanted to, before I get started, introduce a few partners that we have with us. We have, you all know already, Mike James with the City of Shafter here. Mike is going to be here to answer some questions. And I also have 2 folks from the district, our incentive team that works on this program. We have David Lopez, one of our supervisors, and Sitao, who's been doing this work. They've been implementing these urban greening and vegetative barrier projects across 4 different communities, our 4617 communities. So they're really experienced in this work and really excited to present today's proposal. So as a reminder, again, we have that project that we worked with Wonderful on, and kind of what we're discussing next is kind of the remainder of the funding. So we did reopen the RFP in October of 2024, the end of last year, for the remaining grant amount, which was just over 800K. The proposal is pretty significant. It takes, it's not just a simple paper application. There's several parts to it in which whoever applies to it has to demonstrate that they can successfully complete this project. So it's a pretty comprehensive package, and so we opened it for a few months and had it close in at the end of this past year, December 31st, 2024. We did receive 2 proposals. We received a proposal from the City of Shafter, and then a proposal from another group from the Bay. Their name is Hyphy. Yes, Hyphy, like the root, like root. Think maybe like roots of plants. Yeah, that's where their name comes from. So we received 2 proposals, and as a part of the RFP, you all might remember, this was something that we worked on together a while ago, but as a part of the request for proposal, so this is something that we as a district put out, and it has guidelines, and it has basically things that we're expecting this organization to meet to prove that they can successfully do this work in the community. So as part of the RFP, there was a scoring rubric that they had to prove that, they could maintain the plants, they could do the work within the amount of funding, and they can accomplish it within the time frame for the funding. There's a lot of metrics that we can, we'll get into kind of at a high level here. But kind of going through this proposal and what was outlined in the RFP, the district is recommending the city of Shafter for the award based on meeting the requirements and, like I mentioned, demonstrating the ability to effectively and quickly implement the plantings that are in the RFP. So I'm going to high level talk about this proposal. Just to let you all know, I'm going to go through the presentation. We're going to chat about it together in our groups, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So as you all have questions, write them down, keep them in your mind, and we're going to come back to those questions at the end. So for this proposal, again, the city of Shafter, they did submit this, and the purpose, of course, is to plant new trees at locations that will help absorb and break down different pollutants, including particulate matter, dust, pollen. A partner that they've outlined is the Tree Foundation of Kern, who I know a lot of you here are familiar with. They do a lot of good tree planting work here in the Shafter area. They're going to provide kind of consultation and expertise on the project, and they've actually worked previously with the city on, actually, I'm sure a lot of other projects, but specifically our AB 617 urban greening project. I know that they were a partner on that. The number of trees that are in this proposal are 144 fully developed trees, and they're proposing to plant them about 50 feet apart. I know a big question that a lot of people have is how are they going to live? Who's going to take care of them? So the city of Shafter is planning on maintaining the trees for the project life. That's a requirement of this proposal, is they have to show that they can successfully take care of these trees for 10 years. Because of course we don't want them just planted and then just a hope that they're going to survive. We want to make sure that there's a plan to take care of them. The project implementation is expected to start shortly after the award and should be completed within 1 year. And the city is planning on using their staff, their public works staff, for engineering and operations through the project. So through this proposal, there's 2 locations that they are planning to plant at. The first is a half-a-mile stretch on the north side of 7th Standard Road, between Zachary and West Beltway. And I actually do think, Mike, we have a few maps that we're going to distribute out to folks, right? Perfect. We have maps here, but we also, Mike helped print out some bigger maps so that folks can take a look at them. At this first location, it's proposing 104 trees, 25 feet apart. And then at the second location, they're proposing a mile stretch on the center median of Lerdo Highway between Cherry Avenue and Zerker, and that's about 40 trees. So in total, it's both projects, so that's about a 1.5 mile stretch that they're looking to cover. All very highly cover, and obviously Mike is here and can talk about it, but as a part of their proposal, they are proposing to plant a couple of things, including cork oak, Chinese elm, and coastal live oak. And really, as a part of our proposal, we don't necessarily tell people what trees to plant, but we do have guidelines. So it has to be, a species that's not invasive. That means that if it's planted, it can't take over all the other natural wildlife that's there. It also has to be drought tolerant. Of course, in this area, like in Shafter, we want to make sure that once it's planted, it's the right type of tree to survive in this kind of warm, dry climate here. And so these types of trees are the type of trees that we expect to kind of be able to survive in this climate in Shafter. And finally, as a high-level kind of review, we'll talk about generally what the budget is for this project. They're proposing in total $803,550. A majority of that cost will go towards the actual project cost of planting and procurement. So that can include the trees, planting materials, irrigation, and then making sure that site is prepped and prepared to actually do the planting. There are also fairly small administrative costs, about $54,000 to administer this, and then contingency costs, which are fairly regular in a type of project like that. It's about $73,000, and team, feel free to add in if I don't characterize this correctly, but contingency costs are essentially contingency in case anything happens with this project. Say something is actually, quoted more expensive, something happens like an emergency almost. They have that cost to cover to make sure the project can happen. So that is the overall presentation. I'm sure you all have a lot of thoughts and questions. So I think at this time, Amy, should I tee this up or do you want to? Perfect.
So everyone has in front of them the packet with the information. You're welcome to think about this proposal and reflect. What are your thoughts? What questions come to mind? We'll give you about a couple minutes to discuss this with your table, talk to the person next to you. And then we're going to come back together as an entire group and ask our questions. We know Mike is here today to address any questions that you may have. But first, we want to give you a few minutes to sit with that information and see what questions you have, what comes to mind, what do you think about it, how can it be improved, is it a right fit for Shafter, or is there something missing? Sound good? All right, so I'll put my timer on. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
between, Beach and Cherry in there, because that would slope that community where Angie lives, that would give her the tree buffer would go that way, and if we have people bike riding from back and forth in the community, I don't know,
All right, we are ready to come back as one committee to voice our concerns, voice our questions. As you know, the request for proposals went out and proposals were submitted. People wrote the proposals, and tonight you're listening to the proposal that got so far the highest score, hence why it's brought to you for your feedback and for your reactions. So now it is your opportunity to document these questions so that everyone can hear the questions. Are we ready? All right, so if we can have the team help with the mics, we are going to be making sure that you get your questions asked. You want to tee us up, Steph?
Thank you all. I heard a lot of lively discussion, so I assume you all have a lot of questions about the proposal, and I think we can just make sure that everyone hears all of your great questions and to make sure that everyone hears the response. I'm just going to go ahead and pass around this mic. But I'm happy to take any question. Anyone that wants a hand up? Okay, I see a question over here.
Yeah, I think there are some questions. I think one, if we understand correctly, one project is near the wonderful industrial park, if that's the case. So that's what the residents are identifying. So this is one that is a little bit far from the residential areas. And the other project looks like is on Lerdo, and if we understand correctly, it's part of that wonderful company already planted the green barriers there. So the question from residents is, how effective is going to be to have one, already established and planted green barrier and put in between the road another one, like two parallel, investments together. So it doesn't make sense for us.
Well, I'm Michael James. I'm with the city of Shafter. I work for the Public Works Department. I submitted these projects for consideration. Now, the Lerdo Highway project would be planting trees in the median where there's currently guardrail right now between the two directions of travel. So the focus of that phase of the project would be to replace trees that were taken out by vehicles. There were accidents before we had the guardrail installed for safety purposes. So we would be much of the trees that would be planted would be replacing trees that were already in the median. They were planted probably a couple decades ago. And over the years, before the guardrail was installed, those trees were taken out by cars. And so we installed the guardrail, so we're just trying to replace trees that were there originally.
So, and if I understood correctly, so it was mentioned that the trees will be like 50 feet apart, one from another?
If we're talking Lerdo Highway, I think that's what we were shooting for. But I think the other stretch, we were talking 25.
Steph, that were next.
25 feet.
I'm all for the trees on Lerdo Highway. I feel the dust is an issue, traffic emissions are an issue, and I think that anything that I'm also about beautification. I love trees, and I think the trees on Lerdo Highway are a great idea.
Go ahead, Linda.
I'm all for the trees on Lerdo. I want to thank Wonderful for putting in all those oleanders. And yes, we do have protection on the north from that. But please remember that the south, that farmer did not put any protection. So I would really like to have the trees as a secondary barrier because we don't have that protection on the south. And they're going to be a little higher than the oleander. So I've driven down Lerdo and it's gotten dusty. So I would really like to have those extra trees in there because we have some big holes.
And I'd like to thank Linda for bringing that up as far as the median, the Lerdo Highway being quite a bit higher than the north or south side of where the shoulder's at. So I think the trees would be a lot more effective if they were planted on a higher elevation. If you try to add trees on the south side of Laredo Highway, you might notice where that shoulder is, it drops quite a bit. And those trees are going to have to drop with it. So that's why we were focusing on putting the trees at a higher elevation in the center of the roadway.
Los árboles no es un problema, al contrario, es bueno que haya árboles.
Do we have our headpiece on? So sorry, just making sure you have your headpiece on.
Sorry.
Thank you.
El problema para nosotros es la valla verde, pero del otro lado, del otro lado. Wonderful ya puso aquí, ¿ok? Está bien, perfecto. Este lado es el que trae la contaminación del polvo. Este lado de los files que no hay nada, que está limpio. Ahí sí se viene con los tractores, cuando están limpiando, cuando están arando la tierra, se viene todo el polvo para la carretera. Los árboles protegen y limpian el aire arriba, pero las vallas verdes protegen el polvo abajo junto con la neblina en tiempo de neblina que no se mira porque no hay ni luces ahí, no hay nada de luces, entonces eso está oscuro. El problema es del lado derecho. El lado izquierdo ya tiene Wonderful, ya lo puso, gracias. Pero el lado derecho es el que está todo seco, todo plano hasta el 99. Ahí no hay nada de barras verdes. Ese es el problema. Ahora, otra cosa. Acá donde está la compañía Wonderful no necesitamos nada de barreras verdes por allá. Cuando yo fui con los representantes de Wonderful, yo les dije que no se necesitaba por la 7 estándar porque la colonia mexicana, de la colonia mexicana para acá sí, porque acá vivimos nosotros. Y de la colonia mexicana para allá, ellos van a fincar, ellos van a poner industria. Entonces, ¿para qué ponen barrera verde si la van a quitar? Eso es lo que nosotros estamos peleando, porque queremos para la comunidad, no para las industrias. Si a la ciudad le conviene taxis que les den, esa es otra cosa. Pero nosotros queremos que nos protejan a nosotros, a la comunidad. Eso es lo que nosotros queremos.
Can we take a second, Amy? Can we give Mike an opportunity to talk about how we selected both locations and maybe like some of the science behind it?
Well, I agree that there are other places where vegetative barriers can go. When submitting these locations, what I had in mind representing the city was sustainability, where we have the easements and right-of-way of the property to actually plant trees, whereas these other locations, the south side of Laredo is an example, we don't have the right-of-way, so we would have to obtain it. And how do you obtain it? You have to purchase it. And where would we get the money from? We would have put that in our budget for the application. We would have put in a right-of-way acquisition, and there's tens of thousands of dollars, probably more, that could be better spent towards actually planting trees. But if we were to make those sites work, the other sites work, we would be spending just the same amount of money on right-of-way, and we wouldn't have anything left over for the trees. And then on top of that, on top of having the right-of-way and the easements in place, we have an irrigation system that's close by, and then we have crews and resources to maintain it. So everything we put before you is just, not only we have the easements and the right-of-way to plant and maintain, but they're sustainable locations, and they'll be maintained. We have a better assurance that it'll be maintained for the foreseeable future.
Thanks, Mike. This is Stephanie, and I'll add, those are a couple of other things that we kind of look for. There are a lot of things we look for in these proposals, but a really important thing is to make sure that we know that there's someone who has the right authority to plant on a certain location, and that we know can take care of it long term. Because I definitely hear you all. I'm sure, a million locations here in Shafter that we want to see a vegetative barrier, and some of the other things we need to consider is that there's someone who has the right authority, can plant in a certain property, and can take care of it long term.
And I'll speak on behalf of this 7 Standard location. I'll add to this. This is the Target warehouse. This is in front, right off of 7 Standard Road. It's not necessarily a wonderful project. It's immediately next to the wonderful industrial park, but along that corridor, Target granted the city of Shafter an easement to specifically to plant and maintain a landscaping strip. It's obviously, it looks aesthetically better, but I think it'll really serve a constructive benefit as well as aesthetics for the community.
Thank you, Brianda with CCAC. I appreciate you bringing forward the proposal for this project. My question is, are these the only viable options that you are giving the CSC to plant? And if so, if the CSC does not approve, does that mean the city of Shafter will remove the RFP proposal?
Well, the proposal is the proposal. I mean, it's there if the steering committee wishes to move forward with it. Not having the funds means the project itself will be delayed because we don't have those funds readily available to complete the project. But we will pursue that project at a different time.
Thank you. Yes, only because, just to reiterate, what the community would really like to see here is protections to public health. And although I do agree, Linda, even though that face was made, I do agree that it is necessary to put barriers on Lerdo Highway. However, I think that somebody living right next to emissions compared to driving through emissions for a short period of time will be a lot beneficial to have barriers in. And the city has multiple opportunities to submit other grants proposals to get funds for the city as to where these funds are specifically for the community, a one-time only. So I think here health would outweigh beautification, at least for the CSC.
Well, and I don't want to suggest that there aren't other viable sites, but these are the most viable sites that are the most shovel-ready at this time. And the other sites, like there's other roadways throughout the city where, yeah, there is quite a bit of agriculture activity immediately next to that. But the challenge is that these roads are going to need to be widened at some point because there's going to be more traffic. And so you have to plant trees outside those areas where the widening is going to take place. And what do you need? You need property to make sure you have the space to plant those trees. And unfortunately, these are really the only 2 sites where we have the property readily available, ready to plant right now.
Thank you. I definitely understand the need to move forward with timely projects, especially ones that are shovel-ready. But I would like to understand the thought process behind what community air protections the first project brings, seeing as the distribution center is about 6 miles from Shafter, and the proposed tree planting is going to be on the south side when Shafter lies to the north. So if it is production or emissions from the distribution center, it's not going to block the emissions coming from this site to Shafter, because not only is it 6 miles away, but the trees that are going to be planted are also on the south side, and Shafter is on the north.
On the south side, help me out. Are we looking at the same map here?
Yes, I have it here. I have it here on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Can you repeat what he said, please?
I think you were saying that what was proposed is on the south side of the industrial park, not on the city side of the industrial park.
Correct.
It's on the south side of 7 Standard Road, but
Correct.
it's not on the side that people live on.
Correct.
Was the point.
So I just wanted to know what the thought process or the community air protection benefits were for this, for Shafter, if the trees are going to be planted on the opposite side of the distribution center, when it would make more sense if we were looking to block the emissions from this side, even though it is 6 miles away, to put it on the north side of the distribution center as opposed to the south.
Well, it's just a matter that we just don't have a master plan for the roadways and what to plant around at that point. So whereas at this location, we have the roadway either fully built out or we have easement secured to actually plant something.
Okay, yeah, because I think some of the frustration comes from confusion as to how these can be community protective if they're in sites away from residential areas, when I think that was what the intent of the committee was, is to try to put these in areas, in more residential areas closer to houses where it could mitigate some of that dust. But thank you.
All right, we have a hand raised over here, and then we'll come back. Oh, what? I didn't see your hand.
Sí, buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Felipa Trujillo. Yo vivo aquí en Shafter. Yo vivía para el norte de San José, California, y me vine aquí, ya tengo 20 años, y me vine para relajar, pero no se puede porque aquí tenemos mucho problema con los pesticidas. Y yo siento que necesitamos en la Lerdo, yendo para el 5, los árboles, porque alrededor de esa área allí están nuestras casas de mi familia y mío, y a mi familia le ha dado la fiebre del valle a mi nieto, a mi nieta, a mi esposo, y mi esposo llegando aquí a Shafter se enfermó del corazón, de la diabetes, de la fiebre del valle y se murió. Entonces yo ya no me puedo regresar a donde estaba porque ya las casas valen más de $1 millón. Y esa área está muy contaminada porque hay huertas de almendros para la derecha y a la izquierda. Y el pesticida que tiran se va a la tierra y se hace un microbio. Y con el tiempo se lo lleva el aire y eso es lo que nos da la fiebre del valle. Por eso siento que necesitamos aquí en Shafter esos árboles, toda la Lerdo, a la derecha y a la izquierda.
Gracias.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? So, just curious, where are you guys proposing that we put these areas at? The whole committee. Where are we proposing? Where are we putting them at? I know we're saying residential areas, but where at? Well, just wherever you guys want to put them. Where are you guys wanting to put them at? Where's the committee wanting to put them at? That's the question.
Here you go.
La orilla del Lerdo. Mira. Este es Lerdo, ¿ok? Wonderful ya puso de este lado a tu lado izquierdo yendo de aquí para allá. Toda la tierra de la Lerdo viene del otro lado que no tiene nada de valla verde. ¿De qué nos va a servir que pongan vallas verdes a medias? No sirve de nada. Sirve para tapar la luz de los carros, pero no para el polvo.
Sorry.
Yo oigo.
So my question is, not Lerdo, but where do you guys want to put them at? That's the question.
Oh, elsewhere. You mean elsewhere?
Yes.
So if it
Where
wasn't
else would you guys like to put them at? Where's your guys' solution?
alternative
We need an
proposal.
alternative solution. You guys got to we got to give recommendations. We can't just nitpick something. You got to give recommendations.
Yeah, no, we appreciate, yeah. So I'm going to just, so right now, we are not entertaining alternative proposals at this time. So the idea was for us to see what the winning proposal is, not winning, but the highest scoring proposal, so that you can provide some feedback. The feedback has been heard, and now it's time for all of this collective feedback to go directly to the Air District and to Michael and his team, and so that we can develop next steps. I think at this point, so we have, yes.
Do we have to, can we look at half of it and can we approve part of it and not the other part? Or do we have to do all of it? I mean, if we like the 40 trees on the second location and we're not, as the CSC members are not happy with number 1, can we approve number 2 if we came to an agreement?
Those are all great questions. So at this time, again, our job is to take all this feedback and package it for you all. We're not making any decisions tonight. There was no voting on the table. It's an informational session. So I'm going to pass it to Stephanie from the Air District to provide us a comprehensive set of next steps so that we can agree on what steps we're going to follow. Stephanie? I'm talking to mics.
Thanks so much, Amy, and thank you all. I think this is just a good reminder, even though we've kind of, have hit that 5th year mark, there's still so much work that we're doing together. So I just want to thank you all for the great questions. And like Amy said, this is no decision tonight. This was just looking at what we received, asking those really great questions as you all are doing. So as next steps, I actually just wanted to really quickly address a question that there is a map that CSC members have provided locations that we can redistribute out to this whole group again as just a reminder of those recommendations. But I think as a next step, I think, again, we can take all of this feedback, including, I think even Michelle, what you just recommended of just maybe there's a part of this proposal that the CSC is really happy with. We'll, of course, work with the city of Shafter on that. We'll continue, I think, to work with the city of Shafter just based on the feedback that you all provided. And I think maybe as a next step, I don't want to wait until our next quarterly meeting, which isn't until August. So what we can do is we can plan, if it sounds good to you all, is to do that coordination with the city of Shafter and then meet with you all in a vegetative barrier subcommittee so that we can continue this discussion. Yeah. We'll do a vegetative barrier subcommittee sooner. We won't wait until August for our next quarter's meeting, but we'll meet with you all soon. We'll send out the information, and we'll do that via Zoom as we usually have been doing.
Okay, if they're going to not plant the trees, they're going to have to buy land from the farmers to plant vegetation. So does that mean that you're not going to plant nothing at all until you get an okay from the farmers? And then you're going to have to do all this pipeline and everything else, which the money would have went for the trees is no longer going to be trees there for another umpty-ump years?
It's more or less how it works.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the process Mike has described. As he mentioned, the set of projects you all see before you are shovel ready. They can be, if the CSC approves of it, they can be completed within a year, which is, for this type of work, a pretty good timeline. And as Mike described, the kind of further we get away from the proposals that they've provided, the more that maybe he'll need, the city will need funding and time to secure different locations, to spend money to purchase different land, whereas kind of the set that the city brought to you is the most ready and is, something that they can take action on, it sounds like fairly immediately here. Perfect. I know that there's a lot of other questions here, but we want to get you all out in a timely manner. So I just wanted to thank you all for the great questions, and we will be following up with you all on a vegetative barrier subcommittee soon so we can continue this conversation.
Thank you. And before we transition to our next item, just want to spend some time thanking you for allowing us to be in this space. So as you know, my name is Dr. Amy Ramos, and I have been attending these meetings for the last 3.5 years, and it really is a privilege to be here. And I personally made these succulents for all the committee members to express my gratitude for allowing me to be in your space and allowing us and our team to be part of this work together. So you have these little succulents. All of the CSC members can take one, and I'll fix those for you. You all can take one as a gratitude of just being in this space together with you. In addition, the Air District would like to celebrate our 5-year accomplishments. This is the 72nd meeting of the Shafter Community Steering Committee, and as part of that, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, I know, as you all might remember, we were initially supposed to meet back in February, but we ended up rescheduling. And what we wanted to do back in February is we actually had plans to bring a cake to celebrate Happy 5 years with you all. So I know we're a little past that, but we still wanted to celebrate that milestone with you and really thank this whole committee for being with us this whole process. I know the work isn't over, but we just wanted to take a moment to just say thank you all for all of your meetings. Amy said 72 meetings. I know it's been even more than that in subcommittee meetings, time that you've spent kind of working with each other outside of this. So we just wanted to send you off with a little thank you and appreciation. So huge thanks to Amy for the succulents. And then we also, on your way out, just encouraging you all to grab a piece of cake as well.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and cut the cake. And at this time, we want to open it up to public comment. So we do have 4 minutes for any public comment. Yes. If you can state your name first.
Hi, everyone. This is Brianda with TCAC. I just wanted to invite all of the community to a Building Equity, Energy, and Power CPUC San Joaquin Valley listening session that's happening tomorrow. Stephanie and the team were really nice to send out the email to everyone I think it was about a week ago. I can ask if she can resend it, but the listening session will be happening tomorrow with the CPUC, CEC, and CARB. And they are really looking for just a community input on building decarbonization and electrifying. So any benefits, worries, or questions that you might have, it's a great place to ask there. It will be in person, both in Fresno and in Bakersfield at the Veterans Hall, at the East Veterans Hall, and there will also be a Zoom option available. So yeah, really looking forward to hearing the community and all of the related issues or pros when we speak about building decarbonization and electrifying our homes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? I see two folks. Cesar.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if maybe we could get any specific updates around the oil and gas enforcements or the increased oil and gas enforcements that are part of the SERP and the camp. I know from the methane task force who did inspections in the area, there was 18 oil wells that were leaking, and that was after a 3-month notice of advance notice. So I would like to know if any of the sites that were leaking are getting increased enforcement and inspections, and what other efforts have been made by the Air District to do increased enforcement for oil and gas production here in the boundary near Shafter.
Do we have an answer for that? Ryan is going to attempt his best to answer.
Yeah, I'm going to do the best. I did not get an update on that, but I know what you're talking about, obviously. And yeah, we were heavily participated in the joint meetings with CalGEM and the California Resources Board, and obviously our staff went out and yeah, we did document non-compliance, and so we have been doing additional enforcement work on those initiatives, and we plan on continuing to actively participate on that initiative.
Could we get updates at the next meeting about this?
Yeah, we'll, excuse me. We will continue. I apologize for that, but yeah, we will continue to provide updates.
Thank you, Ryan. We will add that to the action items. Someone tracking action items. Thank you, Gustavo Senior.
Yeah, just for the city of Shafter, I think, thank you for submitting the application. And I think the application is great. I think the only, and actually, I encourage you to continue working with the community. I think your project is a great project. I think the only, difference is that, for the CSC members, is that initially the idea for the green barriers was to protect the residential areas from pesticide and dust. So that's the main reason of understanding of the CSC members. It's not that we're against that. I think that's a great project. But I was thinking, I don't know if there is still funding for the purification, the other funding that we already approved also. I don't know if there is, but if there is, some of that funding may be used for the project that you are proposing. So I think the Air District knows how much is there, if any. But the project is great, but I think the main purpose of the green barriers is a little bit different with what you propose. But definitely, we want to capitalize on that funding, and that funding to be invested here in the community. So I just encourage you to keep working with their district and the residents, to ensure that that funding is invested here in the community.
Thank you, Gustavo. This is Amy. So we will make sure to add that as an action item for the SERP updates. So this brings us to our last raffle. So we have to put somebody else to work tonight. And so for our last raffled item, this is for Linda. Where's Linda tonight? Linda, you're welcome to come over anytime you're ready to get to work.
I got my kids.
All right, well, I hope you enjoy the cake. If you have any feedback for us, please do let us know. Enjoy some cake, enjoy anything else that you'd like. This concludes our meeting. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for all your attention tonight. Yes, and if you could, as you're on your way out, after you're done with your cake, please turn off your audio headset and turn it back to Linguistica on your way out. And it looks like Sarah has an update.
Yes. No problem. I have a quick update, everyone. It was actually Stephanie's birthday on Friday.
Woo! Where is Stephanie?
You. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.